Episode 43, A Walking Fart Joke, originally posted October 25, 2018. No matter how successful a toy line gets, like almost anything in life, nothing really lasts forever. There are many reasons that toy lines end or get cancelled. Sometimes toy companies get complacent or focus their attention on a newer, more lucrative property. Other times, the media that the toy line is connected to doesn't do so well, and in some cases, they try to keep the ball rolling by introducing such outlandish new characters that literally, stink. After 3 rather successful waves of toy releases, the first signs of wear and tear on the Masters of the Universe toy line began to show in their 4th wave of figures released in 1985. True, they tried to breathe new life into the line by introducing a 3rd faction into the mix, the Evil Horde, but they also released a pair of new toys which were pretty much lazy repaints of previously released characters. Mossman, the heroic spy and master of camouflage, was basically an unarmored beastman covered in fluff to simulate moss. And then we have his intended nemesis, Stinkor, who was a recolored merman sporting some mechanic armor. Despite their rather lazy designs, to their credit, both new figures sported a rather unique action feature. They smelled. Mossman, a denizen of the great forests of Eternia, had the scent of pine. And Stinkor, who was basically an anthropomorphic skunk, was meant to smell offensive. Instead of just spraying their toys with their intended scents, Mattel went the extra mile by mixing in scented oils into the plastics used to make the figures. To give Stinkor his stench, they mixed in some patchouli oil. I never really had the original figure or know exactly what patchouli oil smells like, but I heard that it has a rather strong and distinctive scent that, while not necessarily offensive, served its purpose of making Stinkor a rather memorable figure. Since the Stinkor toy was introduced towards the end of the Filmation cartoon, he unfortunately didn't make any appearances in the series. His counterpart Mossman managed to come out in an episode or 2, but when it came to Stinkor, the writers considered him to be a walking fart joke and refused to use him in any episodes. Now I know it's rather unfair to peg the end of a toy line on a single figure like Stinkor, seeing that Mattel actually released 3 more waves after him. But for the longest time, Stinkor and Mossman represented to me the first chink in the Masters of the Universe armor. Plus, it didn't help that they were released at a time when I was kinda losing interest in the line, and these 2 made me feel that I wasn't missing much. In my opinion, they were the first phoned-in toys in the line just to keep the character count up and save some money in the process. Fortunately, the rebooted He-Man series in 2002 breathed new life into the franchise and gave us more fleshed-out personalities and origins for many Masters of the Universe characters, including Stinkor, and it definitely gave me a better appreciation of the evil Master of Odors. As told in the new reboot, Stinkor's original name was Oedipus, and he came from an Eternian race of creatures called the Palazians, who basically looked like a mix between a large fluffy house cat and a mogwai. While the Palazians were generally a peaceful race who kept to themselves, Oedipus was, to put it bluntly, an asshole. Unlike the rest of his village, he idolized evil warriors and warlords, so much so that he actually led one such warlord named Pravus into his own village to raise it. Fortunately, the Palazians were saved by the sorceress of Grayskull, and Oedipus was rightfully expelled from his village for his treachery. Out in the real world, Oedipus became a common thief and followed closely the exploits of Skeletor and his evil warriors, with the hopes of one day joining their ranks. Eventually, he made his way to Snake Mountain, where he presented himself to Skeletor's tech man, Triclops, who was busy putting together a new toxic instrument of destruction. Unimpressed with what he saw, Triclops dismissed Oedipus, leaving him alone in his lab as he departed to attend to other business. Not taking no for an answer, Oedipus misconstrued this rejection as a sort of test and sought to pass it by attempting to complete whatever contraption Triclops was working on. The end result was what you would expect. We get a big explosion, and Oedipus gets showered by noxious substances, basically mutating him into a bigger and more formidable warrior with an obnoxious stench permeating permanently from his body. While even in his more formidable form, he was still rejected and sent away from Snake Mountain. But it didn't take long for Skeletor to realize Stinkor's destructive potential. And the writers of the new series didn't waste time showing just how effective Stinkor's powers could actually be in battle. It's easily summed up in 3 words: toxic chemical warfare. See, while his stench was initially seen as a joke, The writers of this new series amplified his powers by giving Stinkor not just the ability to produce giant clouds of noxious gases, but forcefully redirect his fumes to wherever and whomever he pleased, making him a rather dangerous adversary. Things also looked up for Stinkor in later toy versions of the Evil Warrior. Toy designers wanted to give him a more unique look to make him more than just a merman repaint. First, he got a really nice Staction figure that was based off his 2002 series redesign. And when it came to his figure for the Masters of the Universe Classics line, a toy line known for being slavishly faithful to the original vintage toys, Stinkor thankfully got a few extra design elements to further differentiate him from Merman. Most notably, he finally got his own unique head sculpt. And while it was more of a subtle change, he also got a furry body as opposed to a smooth-skinned one used for Merman. This made more sense since he was a skunk. And finally, they added a few details used in the 2002 redesign, which consisted of a gas mask and some oxygen tanks. On face value, one could make the argument that a lot of the ideas for characters made for the Masters of the Universe line may sound kinda dumb. But I guess at the end of the day, it's really how they are presented and portrayed in different media that will ultimately spell their failure or success. And thanks to writers who decided to look past the whole walking fart joke, we got a rather interesting and formidable villain in Stinkor. Which now brings us to Snout Spout. So, have there been any other character ideas from the Masters of the Universe, or any other toy line for that matter, that you feel were just phoned in order to turn in a quick profit? Are you a fan of any of them? Let me know in the comments below and tell me your story. Thanks for watching Stories from the Toy Shelf Redux. If you enjoyed this story, please click on the like button and subscribe to the channel to help me tell more. Until the next one.